Captain Kim Dae-ho stood on the bridge of the research ship Taiyang, watching the endless black space through the main screen. The stars looked cold and distant like tiny diamonds scattered on black cloth. He had been out here for 3 months, now searching for new minerals and mapping unknown regions of space beyond Earth's solar system. The ship was not large, but it carried the best equipment Earth could build. The Taiyang had a crew of 20 people, all carefully chosen for this mission. Park So-min sat at the navigation station checking their position against the star maps. Her fingers moved quickly across the control panel, making small adjustments to their course. Lee Tae-woo worked in the engine room, keeping their fusion reactor running smooth and clean. He was the best engineer in the fleet and could fix almost anything with spare parts and clever thinking. Dr. Choi Yoon-ji spent most of her time in the science lab studying samples they collected from asteroids and gas clouds. She hoped to find signs of life somewhere in the vast emptiness. Today felt different, though. Kim Dae-ho could not explain why, but something in his stomach told him this day would change everything. He walked over to the sensor station where Petty Officer Young Min-ho was watching the long-range scanners. "Anything unusual out there, Young?" Kim Dae-ho asked. Young Min-ho looked up from his screen with confused eyes. "Sir, I am getting some strange readings from Sector 7. The computer says there is something big moving toward our solar system, but the energy patterns do not match anything in our database." Kim Dae-ho felt his heart beat faster. In all his years of space travel, he had never found anything that was not made by humans or nature. "Show me the readings." The main screen changed to display a 3-dimensional map of local space. A red dot moved slowly but steadily toward the inner planets. The computer estimated its size, and Kim Dae-ho gasped. The object was huge, bigger than most moons, and it was clearly artificial. "Park, get us closer, but keep a safe distance," Kim Dae-ho ordered. "Jung, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we have found something they need to know about." Park So-min began changing their course toward the mysterious object. The Taiyang turned smoothly in space, its engines pushing them toward what might be the most important discovery in human history. Kim Dae-ho called Dr. Choi Yoon-ji to the bridge and explained what they had found. "Captain, this could be the first proof that we are not alone in the universe," Dr. Choi Yoon-ji said with excitement in her voice. "But we must be very careful. We do not know if they are friendly or dangerous." As they got closer, the object became more clear on their screens. It was beautiful in a strange way, made of some kind of crystal that glowed with soft blue light. The shape was long and curved like a giant seashell floating in space. But something was wrong with the light. It flickered and dimmed like a candle in the wind. "Captain, I am detecting massive energy failures throughout the structure," Lee Tae-woo reported from his station. "Whatever is powering that thing is dying fast." Kim Dae-ho made a decision that would change everything. "Take us closer. If there are living beings on that ship, they might need help." The Taiyang moved toward the alien vessel with careful precision. As they got nearer, they could see that the crystalline hull was covered with strange symbols and patterns. Some sections of the ship were completely dark, while others still glowed with fading light. Suddenly, their communication system came alive with sounds they had never heard before. Strange music mixed with what sounded like voices speaking in an unknown language. Dr. Choi Yoon-ji worked quickly to record everything and run it through the translation computers. "Captain, I think they are trying to talk to us," she said. "The patterns suggest intelligence, but the language is completely unknown." Kim Dae-ho took a deep breath. This was the moment that would either make history or end in disaster. "Open a channel. Let them know we are here and we want to help." The response came quickly. The alien voices became more urgent and excited. Pictures began appearing on their screens showing the inside of the alien ship. What they saw broke their hearts. The beings inside were tall and graceful with silver skin that glowed softly. They moved like dancers even in their obvious distress. But many of them were lying still on strange beds while others tended to them with gentle movements. The ship was dying and so were its people. "My God, there are millions of them," Dr. Choi Yoon-ji whispered. "Captain, this is not just a ship. This is their entire civilization." More images came through showing vast chambers filled with art and strange machines, libraries with books made of light, Gardens where alien plants grew under artificial suns. Children with large, sad eyes looking up at the cameras with hope and fear. Then one of the beings appeared on their screen, clearly trying to communicate directly with them. It spoke in careful, slow words that the computer began to translate piece by piece. "We are the Veltar. We have traveled the stars for longer than your sun has burned. Our home is gone. Our ship is dying. We do not ask for salvation because we know it is impossible, but we thank you for witnessing our final moments. You young ones should not have to watch death, but perhaps you will remember us when we are gone." Kim Dae-ho felt tears on his face. These ancient beings expected nothing from humanity, except to be remembered. They had given up hope but still showed kindness to strangers they had just met. "Tell them we want to help," Kim Dae-ho said firmly. "Tell them humanity does not abandon those in need." The Veltar being on the screen looked surprised, then sad. "Young ones, you do not understand. Our technology is beyond your knowledge. Our ship requires power sources that could light 1,000 of your cities. What we need would cost you everything you have and more. No species would make such a sacrifice for strangers." But Kim Dae-ho had already made his choice. He looked around the bridge at his crew and saw the same determination in their eyes that burned in his heart. "Send a message to Earth," he ordered. "Tell them we have found people who need our help. Tell them it will cost everything we have. And tell them that humanity has never walked away from those in need." The bridge fell silent, except for the sound of alien voices singing what sounded like funeral songs. Outside the viewing ports, the great ship continued its slow journey toward Earth, carrying the hopes and dreams of an entire civilization. Kim Dae-ho did not know if humanity would choose to help, but he knew that this moment would define what kind of species they really were. The test was coming and the whole galaxy would be watching. Director Han Soo-jin stared at the massive holographic display in the Global Unity Command Center deep beneath Geneva. The images from Captain Kim Dae-ho's ship showed the dying Veltar vessel in all its terrible beauty. Millions of alien lives hung in the balance, and Earth had less than 6 months to decide their fate. The emergency session of the Global Unity Council had been running for 18 hours straight. Representatives from every nation on Earth sat around the curved table, arguing in dozens of languages. The translation computers worked overtime trying to keep up with the heated discussions. "We cannot risk humanity's future for aliens we just met," shouted General Bae Jin-wook from his seat at the military section. His uniform was covered with medals from the Mars defense campaign. "Our colonies are barely surviving. The asteroid, mining stations need constant supply runs. One solar storm could wipe out our orbital cities." Dr. Lim Hae-won stood up from the Science Council table. Her gray hair was messy from running her hands through it during the long debate. "General, we have run the numbers 1,000 times. We can help them. It will be difficult and expensive, but it is possible. Possible and practical are different things," replied Ambassador Chen Wei from the Asian Coalition. "My people are still rebuilding from the earthquake that destroyed New Beijing. How can I tell them we are sending their resources to save aliens when human children are still living in emergency shelters?" Han Soo-jin rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the data streaming across her personal screen. The numbers were frightening. To save the Veltar ship, they would need to strip resources from every human settlement. Mars colony would have to give up half their power generators. The Europa mining base would need to donate their entire stock of rare metals. Earth itself would have to redirect the output of 100 factories. Director Han called out President Maria Santos from the South, American Union. "My scientists say this could set back human expansion by 50 years. We might never recover from such an effort." The room erupted in arguments again. Some representatives pounded their tables while others gestured wildly at the holographic displays. Han Soo-jin watched it all with a heavy heart. She had been chosen to lead the Global Unity Council because she could make hard choices. But this decision was beyond anything she had ever faced. A soft chime indicated an incoming message from space. The room fell quiet as Captain Kim Dae-ho appeared on the main screen. His face looked older than it had just days before. "Director, Han, the situation is getting worse," he reported. "We estimate they are losing about 5,000 people every day. The children are dying first because their bodies cannot handle the failing life support systems. The image changed to show the inside of the alien ship. Veltar families gathered around small beings who lay still and pale on crystal beds. The adult aliens sang soft songs while their young ones struggled to breathe. Even without understanding their language, everyone in the room could see the love and grief in their movements. "Captain, have they asked us for help directly?" asked. Dr. Lim Haiwan Kim Dae-ho shook his head sadly. "No, doctor. They keep saying that no species would make such a sacrifice for strangers. They seem to think it would be wrong to even ask." Han Soo-jin felt something break inside her chest. These ancient beings were dying with dignity, refusing to burden others with their problems. They had traveled the stars for thousands of years and learned that civilizations only helped their own kind. Director called engineer Oh Young-sik from his workstation. "I have been studying their technology with our best teams. Their ship uses power sources we barely understand. But we think we could build compatible systems using our fusion reactors. It would just take a lot of them." "How many is a lot?" asked General Bae Jin-wook. Oh Young-sik looked uncomfortable. "Every reactor we have, sir, plus all the ones we plan to build for the next 20 years. We would also need the entire output of our rare metal mining for the next decade." The room exploded into noise again. Representatives shouted that it was impossible that humanity could not survive such a drain on their resources. But Han Soo-jin was not listening to them anymore. She was watching the screen showing Veltar children who looked so much like human children despite their silver skin and large eyes. A message alert sounded, and the room quieted down. The communication was from the Veltar ship. The being they had been talking to appeared on screen. His name was Kethmore, and he was some kind of leader among his people. "Young ones of Earth," he said in his careful translated words. "We have been watching your discussions through your transmissions. Please do not feel sadness for us. In our long travels we have seen many species. All of them choose to protect their own first. This is the way of the universe. We do not expect different from you." Kethmore paused and looked directly into the camera. "We have decided to change course away from your system. We will not bring our dying ship near your world. You should not have to watch strangers die." Han Soo-jin stood up so fast her chair fell over. The alien was protecting them even while his own people died. The Veltar were willing to face death alone, rather than make humans feel guilty for not helping. "Kethmore, wait," she called out. "Do not change course. We are still discussing this. Young director, we have lived long enough to know when a choice is too hard to make. You have your own people to think about. We understand." The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in complete silence. Han Soo-jin looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. Some looked relieved that the burden of choice might be taken away. Others looked ashamed that aliens were more noble than they were. "I call for a vote," Han Soo-jin announced. "All in favor of Project Sarang to save the Veltar ship, raise your hands." Slowly, Dr. Lim Hae-won raised her hand. Then President Santos followed. One by one, more hands went up around the room. General Bae Jin-wook sat with his arms crossed, looking angry, but even he finally raised his hand with a deep sigh. The vote was not unanimous, but it was enough. Han Soo-jin felt tears on her face as she opened a channel to the Veltar ship. "Kethmore, this is Director Han Soo-jin of Earth. Humanity has made its choice. We are coming to help you. Do not change course. No one dies alone while humans can prevent it." The old alien's face showed an expression that needed no translation. It was surprise, wonder, and something that might have been hope. "Young director, you do not understand what you are promising." "We understand perfectly," Han Soo-jin replied. "We are promising to be the kind of species that helps strangers, no matter what it costs us." Outside the command center, the word was already spreading across Earth. Humanity had chosen to risk everything for aliens they had never met. The greatest rescue mission in history was about to begin. The announcement came at dawn Earth time, broadcast simultaneously to every nation and colony in human space. Director Han Soo-jin stood before the cameras with tired eyes, but a strong voice that carried hope across the solar system. "Citizens of Earth and all human settlements, today we begin Project Sarang, the largest cooperative effort in our species' history. We have 5 months to save 2.3 million alien lives. We have never attempted anything this big or this important, but humanity has never walked away from those who need help. Within hours, the response was unlike anything in human history. Soul children emptied their piggy banks to donate coins for the aliens. Factory workers in Detroit volunteered for double shifts without extra pay. Farmers on Mars sent their harvest early, even though it meant smaller crops for themselves. Captain Park Min-ho received his orders while docked at Luna Station. His engineering fleet of 12 ships would carry the massive fusion reactors to the Veltar vessel. Each reactor was the size of a building and weighed more than a mountain. Moving them through space would require perfect coordination. Park, this is the most dangerous cargo run ever attempted, Admiral Song Hyo-jin told him over the communication link. One mistake and you could lose everything, including your ships and crews. Park Min-ho looked at the enormous reactors being loaded into his cargo holds. His crews worked around the clock using every robot and crane on the station. Admiral, we understand the risks, but those people are counting on us. Dr. Shin Ye-jin led a team of biologists studying everything they could learn about Veltar physiology. The aliens breathed a mixture of gases that was toxic to humans. Their bodies needed different temperatures and pressures to survive. Creating life support systems for them was like solving a puzzle with missing pieces. Doctor, we need to understand how their lungs work, called out her assistant Lee Jun-gi from across the laboratory. The atmospheric mixture has to be perfect, or we could kill them while trying to save them. Dr. Shin Ye-jin studied the data from the Veltar ship. The aliens had been generous with biological information, knowing that humans needed it to help. Their blood carries oxygen differently than ours. We need to adjust the gas mixture by exactly 3.7%, or their cells will start dying. Meanwhile, on Earth itself, the greatest industrial mobilization ever seen was taking place. Factories that made cars switched to building reactor components. Shipyards that built pleasure boats started making life support modules. Every 3D printer on the planet ran day and night, creating the millions of small parts needed for the rescue mission. Communications specialist Lee Jun-gi worked with a team of linguists to better understand the Veltar language. The more they learned, the more amazed they became. The aliens had words for concepts that humans had never imagined. Their poetry spoke of traveling between stars as easily as walking through gardens. Captain Kim, they are trying to teach us their history. Lee Jun-gi reported from the research ship Taeyang. They want us to understand who they are before they die. Kim Dae-ho floated beside the massive alien ship, watching its lights grow dimmer each day. What are they telling us, Jun-gi? They say they have seen 1,000 civilizations rise and fall. They have watched species discover fire, learn to fly, and reach for the stars. But they have never seen anyone willing to sacrifice for strangers. They think we might be something new in the galaxy. The work continued around the clock as humans pushed themselves beyond normal limits. Sleep became a luxury that few could afford. Families went without new clothes or entertainment to donate money to the project. Restaurant owners gave away free meals to workers who could not stop for proper breaks. On Mars Colony, Administrator No Sung-hoon made the hardest decision of his career. The colony needed their fusion reactors to survive the harsh environment, but the Veltar needed them more. Send them all, he told his staff during an emergency meeting. Every reactor except the minimum needed to keep our people alive. Sir, that leaves us with almost no safety margin, warned Chief Engineer An Ji-ho. If anything goes wrong, we could lose the entire colony. No Sung-hoon looked out the window at the red landscape where humans had built their first home beyond Earth. Then we better make sure nothing goes wrong. But those aliens are dying now. We can take risks. They cannot wait any longer. The B-1 supply convoy left Earth orbit 3 months after the project began. Captain Park Min-ho led the formation of cargo ships toward the dying Veltar vessel. Each ship carried technology that had taken decades to develop and billions of dollars to build. Park, this is Earth Control, came the voice of Director Han Soo-jin. The whole world is watching you. Bring our people home safe and save those aliens. Copy. Earth Control. We will not let anyone down. As the human fleet approached the Veltar ship, something unexpected happened. Other alien vessels appeared on their sensors. Ships from species that humans had never seen before. The Veltar had sent Messages to old friends telling them about humanity's impossible kindness. Captain, we are receiving transmissions from 7 different alien species, reported Communications Officer Dr. Ryu Hee-young. They are offering to help with the rescue mission. Captain Park Min-ho felt his heart race. Are you saying we are not alone in this? No, sir. It seems word of what humanity is doing has spread across the galaxy. Everyone wants to see if we can really pull this off. The Veltar ship grew larger on their screens as they approached. Kethmore appeared on their communication system looking more hopeful than before. Young humans, you have already given us something more precious than life, he said. You have given us hope that the galaxy contains more kindness than we believed possible. Captain Park Min-ho smiled as his ships prepared to dock with the massive alien vessel. Kethmore, we are just getting started. Today we begin the hard work. Around them ships from across the galaxy watched as humanity attempted the impossible. The rescue of the Veltar had become something larger than anyone imagined. It was becoming proof that different species could work together for something greater than themselves. All ships prepare for docking procedures, Captain Park Min-ho announced. Let's show the galaxy what humans can do when lives depend on it. The greatest engineering challenge in human history was about to begin. Admiral Song Hyo-jin stood on the bridge of the flagship Aguk, watching the Veltar vessel fill their entire viewing screen. Up close, the alien ship was even more incredible than the images had shown. Crystal spires twisted into impossible shapes, while gardens visible through transparent walls created patches of green and gold light against the dark hull. Admiral, we are detecting massive system failures throughout their ship, reported Sensor Officer Ko Min-jung. They have maybe 2 weeks before total collapse. The rescue fleet had arrived just in time. 60 ships from Earth carried the components needed to save the Veltar. But installation would be the most delicate operation ever attempted. One mistake could destroy the alien ship and kill everyone aboard. Commander No Sung-hoon led the first boarding party through the docking tube into the Veltar vessel. What they found took their breath away. The corridors were like walking inside a living crystal that glowed with soft light. Strange music echoed from hidden speakers while alien writing flowed across the walls like water. Command, this is No, he reported through his helmet radio. The inside of this ship is incredible. It is more like a city than a spaceship, but the damage is worse than we thought. Veltar engineers met them at the airlock. The aliens moved with grace, even in their obvious desperation. Their silver skin had lost much of its glow, and their large eyes showed exhaustion from months of fighting failing systems. Engineer Kaveth was their guide, a being who had worked on the ship's systems for over 3 centuries. Through the translation, computers, his voice carried sadness and wonder. Young humans, we did not expect you to come aboard. Your technology is so different from ours. How can we make them work together? No Sung-hoon smiled inside his environmental suit. Kaveth, we humans are very good at making impossible things work. Show us what needs to be fixed. The tour through the dying ship broke the hearts of every human who saw it. Vast chambers held millions of Veltar civilians, including children, who played quietly while their parents worked to keep them alive. Libraries contained the knowledge of entire civilizations, stored in crystals of living light. Art galleries showed the beauty that the Veltar had created during their long journey through space. But everywhere they looked, systems were failing. Power conduits sparked and went dark. Life support units struggled to maintain breathable atmosphere. The artificial gravity flickered, making people float unexpectedly, before crashing back down. Dr. Ko Min-jung worked with Veltar scientists to understand their technology. What she learned amazed her. The aliens used energy in ways that human science said was impossible. Their computers thought with quantum processors that existed in multiple dimensions at once. No, we have a problem, she reported after 6 hours of study. Their technology works on completely different principles than ours. It is like trying to connect a wooden wheel to a fusion engine. But Chief Technician An Ji-ho had an idea that was either brilliant or crazy. Doctor, what if we do not try to make our technology copy theirs? What if we create a bridge between them? Something that translates human power into Veltar energy? That is impossible. The energy patterns are completely different. Maybe not, Anjiho said quietly. I have been studying their neural interfaces. Veltar brains can connect directly to their machines, but human brains work differently. What if that difference is exactly what we need? Dr. Ko Min-jung understood immediately, and her face went pale. You are talking about using humans as living connections between our technology and theirs. That could kill whoever tries it. Doctor, people are dying right now. Lots of them. If there is a chance this could work, we have to try. Word of the plan spread quickly through the human rescue teams. Using humans as biological interfaces between the two technologies was incredibly dangerous. The alien energy patterns could burn out human nervous systems or worse, but it might be the only way to save the Veltar ship. Commander No Seung-hoon called for volunteers, knowing that he was asking people to risk their lives. The response was immediate. Every human on the rescue mission stepped forward. Engineers, mechanics, scientists, and ship captains all volunteered to become living bridges between the technologies. Sir, let me go first, said technician An Ji-ho. It was my idea. I should take the risk. The first test was conducted in a small section of the Veltar ship that had already lost power. An Ji-ho was connected to both human fusion reactors and Veltar energy crystals through a web of cables and neural interfaces. The procedure looked terrifying, with wires leading directly into his brain through a special helmet. How do you feel? Asked Dr. Ko Min-jung as they activated the first connection. Strange, Doctor. I can feel the alien systems like they are part of my body. The energy is different from anything I have ever experienced. It feels alive. Slowly, power began flowing from the human reactors through An Ji-ho's nervous system into the Veltar systems. Lights flickered on throughout the section. Life support systems hummed back to life. The artificial gravity stabilized. It works, shouted No Seung-hoon. The crazy plan actually works. But the strain on An Ji-ho was enormous. His vital signs spiked as alien energy flowed through his brain. Sweat covered his face, and his hands shook from the effort of controlling forces his body was never designed to handle. We need to disconnect you, Dr. Ko Min-jung said with worry. Your brain cannot handle this much longer. No, doctor. I can hold it a little longer. Get the next volunteer ready. One by one, human volunteers took their places throughout the massive alien ship. Each person became a living connection point between human and Veltar technology. The strain was terrible, but they held on because millions of lives depended on them. Engineer Park So-min connected the main power systems in the ship's core. Captain Lee Tae-woo linked the life support networks. Dr. Choi Yoon-ji bridged the medical systems. In the hospitals where Veltar children fought for life, all stations report status. Admiral Song Hyo-jin called over the communication system. Core power stable, reported Park So-min, though her voice was tight with pain. Life support optimal, said Lee Tae-woo through gritted teeth. Medical systems. Online, Dr. Choi Yoon-ji managed to say before collapsing from exhaustion. Throughout the great ship, lights came on as human and Veltar technology worked together for the first time. The energy flowing through human volunteers brought the dying vessel back to life. Families of aliens wept with joy as their children began breathing normally again. Kethmore appeared on the communication screens with tears flowing down his silver face. Young humans, you have done the impossible. Our ship lives again. But what you have sacrificed for us? Kethmore, Admiral Song Hyo-jin replied. We told you that no one dies alone while humans can prevent it. We meant every word. The rescue was not over yet. Human volunteers would need to maintain the energy bridges until permanent solutions could be found. Some of them might never fully recover from channeling alien energy through their bodies. But 2.3 million Veltar lived because humans chose to risk everything for strangers. In the depths of space, other alien civilizations watched in amazement as humanity accomplished what everyone said was impossible. Word spread across the galaxy that a young species had saved an ancient one through courage, compassion, and sacrifice. The Veltar ship sailed on toward Earth with human guardians keeping its systems alive. But everyone knew that what had happened here would change the galaxy forever. 1 year after the rescue, Dr. Ryu Hee-young walked through the joint research station that floated in Earth's orbit. The facility was unlike anything humanity had ever built before. Crystal corridors grown by Veltar technology connected to metal sections made by human engineers. Gardens from both worlds created patches of impossible beauty in the depths of space. The Veltar had not just survived, they had become part of human civilization. Their ship now orbited Earth like a second moon, its crystal spires gleaming in the sunlight. Children from both species played together in the station's recreation areas, learning each other's languages and customs. Dr. Ryu, the latest reports from the outer colonies are incredible, said her assistant Captain Kang Soo-bin. The joint mining operations on Titan are producing 10 times more resources than we ever managed alone. The combination of human determination and Veltar knowledge had created miracles. Mining operations that took humans months to complete were finished in weeks using alien technology. Veltar scientists had shared secrets that solved problems humans had struggled with for decades. But the most important changes were not in technology. They were in how both species saw themselves and their place in the galaxy. Ambassador Kethmore had become Earth's first alien diplomat. His office in the Global Unity building was always busy with visitors from species across the galaxy. Word of humanity's sacrifice had spread through ancient communication networks that connected civilizations humans never knew existed. Director Han Kethmore said during their weekly meeting, "The Crystalline Assembly of Mordun has requested permission to establish trade relations with Earth. They say any species capable of such kindness must be trustworthy partners." Director Han Soo-jin still led the Global Unity Council, but her job had changed completely. Instead of managing just human affairs, she now coordinated with dozens of alien civilizations that wanted to meet the species that saved the Veltar. "Kethmore, how many requests do we have this week?" 17 different species want to open diplomatic relations. The Energy Collective of Zephyral is sending a delegation next month. The ocean worlds of Nalkorath want to share water purification. Technology. Everyone wants to understand what makes humans so different. The changes went far beyond politics. Human children grew up knowing they were part of a larger galactic community. Schools taught alien languages alongside human ones. Art galleries displayed works created by beings from distant stars. Music from 100 worlds played on radio stations across the solar system. Captain Kang Soo-bin commanded the first joint exploration mission beyond the solar system. Her crew included humans Veltar and 3 other species that had joined the growing alliance. The ship itself was a wonder that combined the best technology from multiple civilizations. "Captain, this is incredible," reported Navigator Jang Eun-soo as they approached an unknown star system. "The long-range sensors are detecting 17 different forms of life on the planets ahead. With Veltar technology, we can scan from 10 times further than any human ship could manage. But perhaps the most profound change was in humanity itself. The unity created during the rescue mission had not faded. Nations that had been enemies became partners. People who had never cared about others beyond their own families now felt connected to beings across the galaxy. The Mars colonies had not just survived giving up their reactors, they had thrived. Veltar engineers helped them build better systems that used half the power and worked twice as efficiently. Children who had grown up in underground tunnels now played in vast domed cities open to the red sky. Administrator No called engineer An Ji-ho from his workshop. "The new atmospheric processors are working perfectly. We should be able to start the terraforming project ahead of schedule." No Seung-hoon smiled as he watched human and Veltar workers building together. "On a year ago, we thought giving up our reactors might doom this colony. Now we are planning to give Mars an atmosphere." The asteroid mining stations had become bustling communities where multiple species worked side by side. Human strength and determination combined with alien knowledge to extract resources more efficiently than ever before. Ships arrived daily carrying materials to Earth and other worlds that needed them. But the greatest testament to humanity's impact came from unexpected places. Deep in the galaxy, ancient races that had not spoken to each other for millennia began reaching out to old enemies. The story of humanity's sacrifice had reminded them that cooperation was possible even between very different peoples. Fleet Commander Zhang Yunsu received reports of peace treaties signed between species that had been at war for centuries. Trade routes that had been closed for generations reopened. Scientific discoveries were shared instead of hoarded. Command, this is Patrol. Ship Taiguk came a transmission from the edge of the solar system. We are detecting a massive fleet approaching, but they are transmitting peaceful intentions. It looks like everyone wants to visit Earth. The approaching fleet contained ships from 47 different civilizations. Some were crystalline structures that looked like living gems. Others were organic vessels that had been grown rather than built. Energy beings traveled in containers of pure light, while aquatic species brought mobile oceans with them. Director Han Soo-jin stood in the observation deck of Luna Station watching the incredible parade of alien vessels entering Earth's solar system. Each ship represented a species that wanted to see for themselves the world that had risked everything for strangers. Director, said Communications Officer Dr. Ko Min-jung. The lead ship is requesting permission to address the people of Earth directly. The message was broadcast to every human settlement and translated into hundreds of languages. The speaker was ancient even by galactic standards, a being that had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. People of Earth, we are the Council of Ancient Worlds. For millions of years we have watched species discover fire, build cities, and reach for the stars. We have seen them grow strong and proud. But we have never seen what you did for the Veltar. Alien's voice carried weight that came from seeing the birth and death of galaxies. In all our long existence we have learned that survival requires protecting your own above all else. This is the law that governs all intelligent life. Except for you. Images flowed across every screen showing the rescue mission from perspectives humans had never seen. Other civilizations had watched everything, recording humanity's impossible choice for their own historical records. You chose to risk your species' future for beings you had never met. You gave everything you had to save people who were not your own. This breaks every rule we thought governed intelligent life. It suggests that the galaxy can become something we never dared imagine. The transmission ended, leaving Earth in stunned silence. Humanity had not just saved the Veltar, they had changed how every species in the galaxy thought about cooperation and kindness. Kethmore appeared on the communication screens from his ship above Earth. The ancient Veltar looked at the camera with eyes that had seen wonders across the cosmos. Young humans, when we first met you, we thought you were just another species learning to walk among the stars. We were wrong. You are teachers, showing the galaxy what it means to be truly civilized. Outside Earth's atmosphere, hundreds of alien ships waited patiently for their chance to meet the species that had reminded the universe that kindness was possible. The rescue of a single dying ship had become the foundation for a new age of galactic cooperation. Humanity's single act of kindness had indeed cemented them in myth, but as living legends who continued to inspire others to be better than they thought possible. 10 years had passed since the rescue that changed everything. Captain Kim Dae-ho now served as Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Cooperative Commonwealth, a position that did not exist before humans taught the universe about kindness. His hair had turned gray and his face showed lines from years of responsibility, but his eyes still held the same determination that had driven him to help strangers in the darkness of space. The solar system was no longer just humanity's home. Ships from dozens of species moved constantly between planets carrying trade goods, tourists, and students, eager to learn at the universities that had become the galaxy's most respected centers of learning. Earth had become a pilgrimage site where beings from across the cosmos came to understand how a young species had changed everything. Fleet Commander Zhang Yunsu stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel, Sarang, watching a fleet of 30 ships from 15 different species prepare to jump to hyperspace. The joint expedition would map new regions of the galaxy and search for other civilizations that might need help. Humanity had learned that the universe was full of people who needed friends. Commander, all ships report ready for jump, announced Navigator Park So-min from her station. Course laid in for the outer spiral territories. Execute jump, Zhang Yunsu ordered. Let's go find some new friends. The fleet vanished into hyperspace carrying the spirit of cooperation that had grown from a single act of kindness. Every ship contained mixed crews working together as naturally as if they had evolved on the same world. Human determination balanced Veltar wisdom, while dozens of other species contributed their own unique strengths. Back on Earth, the Veltar Friendship Gardens covered hundreds of acres where the crystalline trees they had brought from their lost homeworld grew alongside Earth plants. Children from both species played together under artificial suns that shone with the light of distant stars. The differences between human and alien had become meaningless to the new generation. Dr. Seo Junyoung worked in the archives of galactic history, documenting how one moment of moral choice had transformed civilization itself. Her research showed that the rescue of the Veltar ship had created ripple effects that reached every corner of known space. The impact continues to spread, she told her assistant while reviewing the latest reports. 3 more ancient wars ended this month when the combatants agreed to try what humans call compromise. Trade between former enemies has increased by 400% in the past year alone. The numbers told an incredible story, but could not capture the true magnitude of what had changed. For the first time in galactic history, species were choosing cooperation over competition. The idea that survival meant protecting only your own kind had been replaced by a new understanding that helping others made everyone stronger. In the council chambers of New Geneva, representatives from 347 different species worked together to address challenges that affected the entire galaxy. Where once there had been only human voices now, the air was filled with songs, clicks, whistles, and energy patterns as diverse as the beings who made them. Kethmore had aged greatly in the 10 years since the rescue, but his position as speaker for ancient wisdom made him one of the most respected voices in the galaxy. He had become humanity's greatest advocate, telling the story of their sacrifice to every new species that joined the growing alliance. "Young Director Han," he said during a quiet moment between meetings, "do you ever wonder what the galaxy would be like if your species had chosen differently?" Director Han Soo-jin looked out the window at the busy space traffic around Earth. Ships of every imaginable design moved between the orbital stations that had grown into small cities. "Kethmore, I try not to think about that. I prefer to focus on what we built together." "Wise words from a wise friend," the ancient alien replied. "But I think about it often. Without your kindness, my people would be legend only remembered in old stories. Instead, we live and grow and contribute to something greater than we ever imagined possible." The transformation was visible everywhere. Mars had become a garden world where terraforming technology from a dozen species had created an atmosphere that supported life from many worlds. The moons of Jupiter hosted research stations where the greatest minds in the galaxy worked on projects that benefited everyone. Children born after the rescue grew up in a universe where helping strangers was normal. They learned history that included the great wars and the bitter divisions of the past, but they could barely understand how people had once been so afraid of those who were different. At schools across human space, young people studied the languages and cultures of dozens of species. Art classes included sculpture that existed in 7 dimensions, and music that could only be heard by minds connected directly to quantum computers. Science lessons covered technologies that had once seemed like magic. The Veltar children who had been saved by human sacrifice were now adults contributing to the civilization that had given them life. They served as bridges between species, helping others understand that differences in appearance or technology meant nothing compared to the bonds created by compassion. One of them, Dr. Veliana, had become Earth's leading expert in interspecies medicine. Her work had saved countless lives by finding ways to treat diseases that jumped between very different types of biology. She often spoke about growing up knowing that millions of strangers had risked everything to save her. "I learned from humans that family is not limited by species or location," she told students during a lecture at the Galactic University. "Family includes everyone who cares enough to help when help is needed." The story of humanity's choice had been told so many times it had become legend, but living legend that continued to inspire new generations. Children across the galaxy grew up hearing how a young species had chosen kindness over safety and changed everything. But perhaps the most remarkable change was in humanity itself. The unity forged during the rescue crisis had become permanent. Earth had no more wars, no more hunger, and no more fear of the unknown. Humans had learned that their greatest strength was not their technology or their courage, but their willingness to help others, even when it cost them everything. Captain Kim Dae-ho stood in his office looking at a holographic display that showed the current extent of the Galactic Cooperative Commonwealth. Thousands of species now work together across millions of star systems. Trade routes carried not just goods but ideas, art, and friendship between worlds that had never imagined such cooperation was possible. A soft chime announced an incoming message from the exploration fleet led by Commander Jang Eun-soo. Her face appeared on the screen bright with excitement. "Ambassador Kim, you need to see this. We found them. Another dying generation ship just like the Veltar vessel. But this time they won't die alone. We have 17 species offering help, and the rescue fleet is already being assembled." Kim Dae-ho smiled as he watched the coordinates appear on his display. Another species would be saved not by humanity alone, but by the galactic family that had grown from that first act of kindness 10 years ago. "Commander, how long until the rescue fleet arrives?" 6 days, sir. But Kim, they already have enough volunteers. To man 100 ships, everyone wants to help. The galaxy has learned what humans taught us. Outside his window, the stars looked different than they had a decade ago. Once they had been cold, distant points of light in an empty universe. Now they were the homes of friends, neighbors, and partners in the greatest adventure any species had ever attempted. Humanity's single act of kindness toward Earth's ancient visitors had indeed cemented them in myth. But it was a living myth that grew stronger every day as more species learned that the universe was vast enough for everyone, and that helping strangers was not just possible, but necessary for the survival and growth of all intelligent life. The rescue of the Veltar had ended, but the spirit behind it would continue forever, spreading hope and kindness to every corner of the galaxy. And in schools across thousands of worlds, children would continue to learn the most important lesson humanity had ever taught: that no one has to face the darkness alone.